Hi everyone, it's me Stacy here from Outset Medical with my new friend and best-selling author Dr. Jennifer Kahnweiler. She is the best-selling author of 3 books, Quiet Influence, The Genius of Opposites, and The Introverted Leader. Today we had an Unplugged session.
Yes.
And you were quite a hit. What did you think of the reception from our crew about their interest in introverts?
Stacy, I was so pleased to see, as I think we discussed, the engagement. People had such provocative questions, and we're sharing their own experiences. And I was really struck with the vulnerability that several people showed in a forum where they maybe were new to the organization and just didn't have a lot of experience necessarily with Outset, but they felt comfortable. And that was very gratifying to see the culture you've created here to engage in these discussions.
Well, you said at one point, you said, this is very unplugged. You know, the name of the series was perfect.
I loved it. And we didn't even have to look at our phones. We were actually interacting one-on-one. And I thought it was really great to have Jennifer be the kind of the lead and be the role model, if you will.
And you're talking about Jennifer Moscow.
Yeah, well, myself too. No,
who is our VP of Quality Assurance.
Jens, and you distinguish between us. So yeah, Jen and I actually met several years ago, and she was in a class that I was teaching for women leaders, and I was so struck by her strength as a woman leader, and I knew she was really identifying also with the characteristic of being an introverted leader. And so that's how we kind of connected, and she invited me to come here.
We were so glad to have you. And one of the principles that you brought forth that I just could chorus is your belief that we really need both of us. We need introverts and extroverts to make teams their best and their most dynamic. And you're a real advocate for that diversity. Jen, just give me a quick note on what you think is a real strength of extroverts, and then what's a real strength of introverts, and how do they interplay?
Absolutely. And I think we need to be careful that we don't hire people or form teams that are too much like us, Stacy. You're absolutely right. The extroverts bring, there's not a stranger in the room. They get the team connected. They find out about people's lives, and they develop rapport. And they're kind of sometimes called the cheerleader of the team. Extroverts they find it easy to talk to strangers. And many introverts are sort of not just aghast, but in awe of that skill. The introverts, on the other hand, reflective, calm, really incredible listeners. Whereas oftentimes we say the extroverts are the talkers. So, I think together, if we can pair those, particularly if we're dealing with customers, really matching up those skills.
Absolutely.
So, to bring out the best in those interactions, those teams that are genius, I call them genius opposites.
Yeah, I like that.
And they are really exponentially better than teams of one-on-one. And they get incredible results from the research that I found. If they can take some steps to really understand each other and do the kind of thing we were doing today in the Unplugged session, which was actually to take introversion, extrovert out of the closet and talk about it as another very key element of diversity.
One of the things that was interesting is we took kind of like a crowd pulse, and you said, okay, raise your hand if you are kind of think of yourself as an introvert. And we had a good proportion of our group raise their hand. And then we also talked about some of those challenges at work with like people exhaustion that introverts sometimes face. Jen, what would be one of the strategies that you would share about how introverts can recharge those batteries?
Yes, and I'm sure
in a long work week.
Stacey, I'm sure you can probably add your own as well.
As an introverted leader, you're right.
But and having worked in this field, or really doing research for the last 12 years, oftentimes it comes down to the difference with an introvert is they need that time. And if they don't get that time, what they share is that it really can be very draining, completely draining, which I would say extroverts don't always get that. They kind of put their own lens on it. So what do introverts do? They schedule time. Like, for instance, conferences. Okay, let's think about that kind of a scenario. They look at the schedule ahead of time and they figure out, when am I going to take a break? Or even just in the context of working here at the company. We heard examples of people walking outside, right? Of not scheduling meetings too close together.
That's right.
And taking control back of your time, and the remote option as well, and using that really strategically. Today I need a day to just recoup, maybe even take care of some personal errands, go on a hike, and then come back. And I know the research says, obviously, that is also where I get my best energy, and then come back to work and I can focus. But again, if the introvert keeps going, and those batteries will definitely drain.
It's interesting. We're thinking a lot about not only hiring great individuals, but building these strong teams, and then kind of how we design organizations. Jen, what would be some advice you'd have about, how we think about meetings, especially when you want to engage both introverts and extroverts?
Yeah. Well, I think meetings are oftentimes the bugaboo for everybody. We have to decide if we really need the meeting. But if we are having the meeting, be cognizant of who's in the room. And I think the really good team facilitators or meeting leaders are very aware if they haven't heard from somebody in a while, and they'll make a conscious effort, to engage that person, not to put them in shell shock and kind of put them on the spot, but to gently ask them their opinion. They also put in some other strategies like giving each person a chance, to go around the table.
That's right.
So that people have a chance to all contribute. There's a technique we talked about in the Unplugged this morning, brain writing, which is...
I loved that technique.
You love it.
Yeah.
Have you used it at all, Stacey?
I haven't, but it appeals to my introverted side, where writing is a way that I organize my thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what we found is that people that are extroverted say it helps them too, because the quality of the output is much higher because they're thinking. They're not just, they're very good at winging, but the depth of the comments and the thought process is really refined when you are writing it down.
I could see how that would elevate them.
Absolutely. And that's a suggestion I could give you can put in place today if you're doing a meeting. Just experiment with that. You throw a question to the group and say, it doesn't even have to be brain writing. It should be like, everybody write down your thoughts on a piece of paper. Don't say anything yet. And experiment that, and you will find that you will get much more engagement from everybody. And the introverts will thank you that you gave them a chance to think.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. We've had Dr. Jennifer Kahnweiler with us. She was a guest in our Unplugged series. She is an introvert activist. She is an advocate for diverse teams, and she is our new friend. So thank you again,
And
Jen.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure. I feel so welcome here at Outset Medical and love the work that you're doing.
Don't be a stranger.
I won't be. I'm going back to the South. That's what all they say down there. Thank you.